Welcome to Salve, a therapeutic podcast for digital ailments. We're here to ease your online aches and entrepreneurial anxieties, one session at a time. With our host, Jordan Brannon, and today's guest, Greg Zakowicz from Omnisend. Today's worrying condition, the paralysis caused by endless email and SMS automations.
Hello, everyone. This is Jordan Brannon, and we are back with another episode of Salve, the place where you come to get your digital ailments cured and treated by some of the most knowledgeable medical professionals in digital today. I'm really excited to be dealing with the loss of sensation in your extremities that comes from being unaware of how to automate and improve your email and SMS campaigns. We've got a special doctor with us here today. I've got Greg joining us from Omnisend. Greg, could you maybe give us a little bit of your backstory and tell us a little bit about Omnisend as well before we go any further?
Sure thing. So Jordan, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here and look forward to a really good conversation with you. So myself, Greg Zakowicz, I'm a retail and e-commerce advisor here at Omnisend. And I've been in email marketing, 19 going on 20 years. I don't know the exact month I started. It's probably around nowish. So I might be at 2 decades in. I've seen a lot. I've gone through a lot back in the Wild West days to where we are now, which is a much better place to be in. So I have been in e-commerce for, probably, I don't know, almost all of those 20 years as well. Back to Yahoo store times. Always good. Omnisend, we are a email and SMS marketing automation platform built specifically for e-commerce merchants. We have plug and play integrations with all your major e-com platforms. So Shopify, BigCommerce, the whole 9 yards there. So it's a perfect opportunity to talk about automations and actually doing more with less and getting over some of that paralysis, which I know we'll talk about, but how our tool and the tools available just generally publicly now to people can help them achieve and move to the next step with less or very little effort, unlike 10, 15 years ago where it was much harder to do.
Yeah. My first, and I think probably really the most important question that I can ask is, given that you've been doing email for 20 years, are you still using AOL.com for your personal email? Go.
No.
Okay. All right.
I do have a side Yahoo account though that I rarely use, but I still have it hanging on. I can't delete it, but no AOL.
All right. My Yahoo account is the fantasy football commissioner one, which unfortunately I need to get all of this setup done this week, I think, because we're coming up on the regular season, and I've had people from the league text me. I don't know how I ended up being commissioner. I think I was just the first person not to quit when given the job. It's sort of like this falling up sort of experience. So
it's usually how it happens.
Yep. Well, really glad that you're here. I kind of wanted to look at this pain point of paralysis by analysis that really I think Omnisend is well suited, and you personally are well suited to speak to. I know from an agency perspective, we've been at this 16 years, on the agency side of things. We've talked to a lot of brands. I think each month we have probably 300 or 400 different engagements where we're putting together some kind of strategy. And so much of what we see happening is we'll have someone come in, a prospective client wanting to see improvement in their email and SMS campaigns. And then a year later, they come back. And a year later, they come back. And nothing is really changing except things are going down. Maybe at a high level, what do you think it is that creates so much caution around digital marketing, maybe broadly, and email and SMS specifically, that freezes people where they are?
It's so funny, Jordan, because you just described the life I used to live when I was doing email brand consulting full time. So it was the same thing. Like I would write down, hey, this is what you need to do. Let's talk in a couple of weeks, and we'll come back. And they're like, yeah, I didn't really do anything. And you described the situation perfectly. You probably have the same answer as I do. Over time, it really comes down to a couple different things. One, not having the knowledge or being comfortable with the knowledge to, hey, this is what I want to do. And even if you have a consultant, right? So, hey, Jordan tells me I should do this. You've got a professional telling you to do something, but there is an inherent challenge of that person going, okay, but am I confident I'm going to execute it like he wants me to execute? So there's a lot of, we talk about paralysis by analysis, but there's a lot of analysis of your own skills and your own doubt. The other thing is just not knowing how to actually accomplish it. So go, okay, Jordan tells me I should do a welcome series. Now, what are the rules around the welcome series? Do I send them right away? Do I send them 5 minutes? And you can, I mean, everything's available online now, but you'll also have conflicting information. Oh, you should send it immediately. Give it a 1 minute break. So all these timing, and then that just kind of feeds the whole cycle again. It's like, well, I don't know what to believe here. I'll just not do anything because that's a safe route to do. And that's generally what it comes down to. It's really overthinking things. And this overthinking, you don't need to, right? You don't need to, be perfect at everything. You don't need to be right. That's a good thing about email. It's hard to be wrong in email.
Yeah.
You can optimize. You can not have the perfect choice, but it's very rare that you're wrong.
Yeah, I like that. It's hard to be wrong in email. I think one of the things that I've appreciated, I come from an SEO background, but one of the things I've appreciated with email specifically is it's a lot less fragile in some ways than other digital marketing campaigns. On pay-per-click, you don't set your daily budget correctly, someone's going to pay that $30,000 bill. Anecdotally, I had a really funny we had a junior marketer at a client we were working with send us a ChatGPT generated plan of an event they were doing in person, and the budget was supposed to be $1,000 for the whole event, but ChatGPT, when it took that person's prompt, had misunderstood and decided $30,000 of $1,000 a day, which is a little different. So just be careful. There's a free tidbit there. But email just does seem to be more resilient. And outside of some of the really big no-nos, like buying a list, spamming a list, it really is, it feels like your customers who have willingly decided, like, hey, I want to hear from you again, they're going to be a lot more resilient to a mistake of, do I send it at 1 minute or 5 minutes, that sort of thing. Do you think that's the case?
100%. So it is like, we could talk about specific series and things like that, and kind of some of these best practices that have shifted over time. And, again, they're not wrong, but why I would argue that, you've got to adapt with the time. But, we talk about like segmented emails. Hey, you want to be as relevant as possible. Well, it's true. You do want to be relevant as possible, but if I go ahead and send an irrelevant message one day, like they sign up for the messages, they'll just choose not to open it. And that's okay, right? They'll come back. It's not like a one-time death knell type thing. And that's the beauty of it. And you're 100% right. It's an opt-in channel. It's a first-party channel. People say zero-party data. I don't know what that is. You've got to have a party involved there. But they're saying, yes, text me some messages or sign me up and send me some emails. And it's been around for so long now that it's really become a significant part of the customer journey. It used to be, hey, they'll check it. It's great if you have it. But now we're seeing with data, we're looking at our own emails, consumption behavior, especially around those key times like Black Friday, Cyber Monday. It is one of the first steps consumers are taking in their journey, because they know there's going to be an offer there. They know there's going to be a sale. They know it's one place they can go to kind of distill some of that information before they get to your website, right? So you've got these opportunities now. So it's funny, as technology advances, email, from my perspective, is becoming more important, but consumers like it more and more the older it gets, which is kind of funny to think about.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the real funny ones that we've seen recently that just sort of speaks to the importance of email is Google wanting to pull from your email and pull in promotions and offers that are going out, and then being able to reference those as part of a search experience in Google Shopping, which is really kind of like that just, I think, again, says something about how powerful email is, that a search engine known for its paid advertising is trying to use its access to your inbox to populate its paid ads in its shopping feed. Talking about paralysis and breaking free from it, maybe before we even do that, how do you sort of, maybe, I don't know if Omnisend has a metric, like inaction costs brands this much. I don't even know how that would be conceptualized, but maybe a positive case study of a brand that finally, got moving and actually began to implement some of the automations that are available to them and saw dollars turn, because that, I think, is sometimes a good way of quantifying prior loss. Anything like that would be helpful for a brand who is frozen and doesn't know if they are willing to take a risk or put the time in, any value you can kind of communicate there.
Yeah, that's always the difficult part because it's like benchmark studies. I love benchmark studies, but using them as like an absolute truth to judge your own
Mm-hmm.
program by is hard to do, right? You don't know how someone else treats their list, how they're segmenting, things like that. So it's just that it's a data point and all be all. So Omnicell we'll prompt you, be like, hey, other brands like yours will get, see, I'll make up a number here, but 9% conversion rates on a welcome message, but you're not sending one, or yours is 4.2. So there's some of those kind of comparisons you can make, but the whole goal is to show the person like, hey, you could be doing more, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of optimizing those things. So obviously, like most companies, we've got a resources page with customer success stories. The one thing you'll consistently see through, so there's one from Edmondson Sports, which is like a outdoor retailer, and how they improve their cart abandonment, right? You're talking about, cart abandonment, you've got retargeting to play in there, whether it's social or paid search, some sort of paid retargeting, typically to those users who abandon carts, while email is, fractions of a penny to send, but the conversion rates are high. So every dollar you capture there then reduces that paid retargeting budget. So yeah, things like Edmondson Sports, which are generating revenue off their cart abandonment. There's a company, Figpin is one that kind of jumps off to me, that they were kind of one of these situations where it was like one person doing the emails, they didn't have anything, and it was just kind of like batch and blast, if you will. And they're like, oh, I heard someone like Greg say, these are the 3 I should be doing. And they went through and it was kind of exactly that. It was one at a time, implement it, doesn't need to be perfect. You start making, shavings make a pile, as they say. And they were generating 20-some% of their email sales just off those 3 automated messages, right? In those series there. So things like that is a good example of there is real revenue out there. There are ways to increase the revenue, even if you're doing some of the things right. It's just a matter of looking at your own data and going, okay, we're doing this on email. How do we get to this, right? So, the one metric I always look at, I looked at when I was consulting, I look at it now, I think it's more impactful now, is what percentage of revenue is coming from automated messages, or your percentage of your email sales from automated messages, because that will typically tell you the general health of your email program and your database. So across the board, we look at these metrics internally all the time. We put out these yearly stat reports. So it's pretty consistent. It will change a couple percentage points year after year, but 36% of all email sales come from automated messages from programs. Okay. 2% of sends. So 36% of sales on 2% of sends. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but that's where you're looking at. So if you look at your own program and go, okay, I have no automations. Well, that means the only time you're getting sales off emails is when you're building an email, you're scheduling the email, you're sending the email, manual work involved there. There's less now than there was, but there is manual work. Automation, it's going year round, 24 hours a day and just kicking based on user behavior. And that's why it works so well. So go, okay, let me introduce this one here and let's start, shavings make a pile. Let's start getting a couple sales off these things that we're not manually sending. And as you do that more, you start sending more relevant messages. People look at your email program and go, okay, they send me more relevant messages than they did before. I'm going to keep checking these things a little bit more. So there's all these waterfall and downstream effects by doing things like that. But I always look at percentage of sales from your email program based on your percentage of sends, right? Based on the automation, I'm sorry. And that will give you. So I think from a ballpark, you should be over 20%. I think if you hit anywhere from 25 to 40%, you likely have a really good email program going there. And then it's just a matter of fine tuning, optimizing the small things here and there, whether it's scheduled sends or automated sends. That's a lot there for you, Jordan. Hopefully we can
we'll make sure I pull the data points out right. So automations typically are about 2% of the actual emails that are going out. Mm-hmm. But a healthy benchmark is someplace north of 25 and maybe less than 40 is sort of like what you would say is healthy. You can be super healthy and go over that. Mm-hmm. And maybe in your specific industry or circumstance, a little under that's okay too. But like that's that much revenue coming in from 2% of the sends. That's sort of just a quick thing. If someone's going to go flip over to OmniSend right now and think like, hey, how am I doing on this? Those are some decent benchmarks to be looking at.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're a B2B or an agency that maybe have some services or something, obviously those numbers are going to come down. But at that point, I would look at engagement rates. right? So clicks, click to conversion. That conversion could be
Yeah.
anything. It could be a white paper. It could be some sort of resource, material, sales call, demo, whatever it is. But at that point, I'm looking at engagement rates. Is it engaging for you? But obviously, people can look at their own industries and figure out what's going to work best for them.
Very cool. Now, so if I'm sort of looking at this today, again, we'll say I'm newer to email. I've got an email list. I've consistently sent an email when I have like a harebrained, good thought reaction to what's going on in my industry, new product launch, whatever sort of my cadence has been. What are maybe a couple of automation places that everybody, you just again from that putting on that consulting hat, everybody should start here in terms of, maybe that these are the two types of automation you think are extraordinarily valuable. Rarely is there a loss or at a minimum, something that's not going to pay for itself.
Yeah, so I'll give you three, and they're the three that I think every brand should have or needs to have nowadays, and then we can go into kind of your fringe ones. But I'll also give you a lens in which you can view it through. So when you're looking at different automations, you can use some sort of filter there. So the three I think every brand needs: welcome messages, been around for years. Everyone's probably tired of hearing it, but they're important. Cart abandonment, obviously, it's very close to purchase. We've got really high intent customers there. And product or browse abandonment, right? It's just a different strategy. Browse is a little more generic. Greg's checking out jackets. Product is Greg is checking out this jacket, right? And retargeting there. Those are the three that will drive over 80% of those automated message sales. So huge chunk of all those automated sales, which are so high, 80% is coming from those three messages alone.
Oh.
Now, here's the lens. The lens is the reason they do so well is because they're high intent. They're very high intent stages of the customer journey. So I want to sign up for an email program. Well, I probably got to your website through some sort of paid activity. So you spent money to get me there. Now you want to capture that first party data so that we can retarget you. But I'm on your website for a reason. I clicked your Instagram ad for a reason. There's something in my life that got me there. It's a high intent stage. And if they're signing up, a lot of times it's because you're promoting a discount or you're offering them something, or they want an easy place to remember to come back to so they get that welcome message. So that's one. Cart abandonment, obviously it's high intent. They've selected products, they put it in their cart. I don't think we need a lot of explanation here, very close to purchase. Product abandonment is very similar to welcome messages, right? Something in their life got them to their website and they're checking out something, they're checking out products. Why would you waste that? And the typical strategy is then, okay, let's retarget them. Let's get them to come back because we've done the work. So, email is not going to work every time, but it's going to work a good majority of the time. And then when that doesn't work, right, we filter in our paid search, our paid, any sort of paid activity you want to do for retargeting at that point. But there's something there. And chances are if they're browsing on your website, specific products, they are going to buy that sooner or later, either from you or from someone else. Very few people check out products and really get into it. And I was like, you know what? I'm never going to buy that. It's not how it works. So those three stages, you've got new, you've got close to purchase, and usually everything in between there is where you get your scheduled messages or your batch and blast messages. And that's really your refinement strategy. So if you get an automated message that targets that person based on the specific product, that provides some value, reinforces why they should buy it from you, that's a huge stage there. So that's why those three make up a large percentage. But the lens of intent stages for the customer, what is the intent of the customer when we send this message? And that's the lens I would look through. So birthday messages, love them. High engagement rates, they can convert for you. Is it a high intent stage of sending a birthday message? No, not really. Sometimes people buy for their birthdays, sometimes they don't. But that's not like, it's my birthday. I'm not going to buy something just because it's my birthday. So it's a good message. I'd still recommend sending one if you have that data, but it's not high intent. What else could be high intent? Well, lapse purchase, they haven't purchased in a while. There's probably low intent there, but they bought from you. So you want to retarget those. Post-purchase messages, huge. I could spend an hour talking to you about post-purchase messages, Jordan. But that's the lens I look through. What's the intent of the customer when we send this message? And that should guide you pretty well.
Okay. So start with sort of what a customer is after as sort of the trigger for that automation. I guess a couple of thoughts just kind of looking there. So you did touch on like the time to send. Also just kind of curious about the best content to send. So you touched on discounts as well. So maybe you could speak to those two questions. We can do them separately. So like, what is the appropriate time to wait, if any, versus just sending right away? I think in my experience, what I've seen is that the longer you go, the worse you perform on those high intent messages. But there's not necessarily, in my experience, been a consistent sending between 1 and 5 minutes is going to be really, truly better. It's more that, getting in front of them quickly that matters. Any feedback there? You obviously get to deal with a lot more emails than I do.
Yeah, so if you are into space or physics or anything astrophysics, time is relative, right? So very much time is relative here. So welcome messages, my general rule is send it immediately. You can have a 1-minute break if you need, say you want to protect against like a 10-second data sync delay or something. Within 5 minutes, I would absolutely send it. I mean, I went through this experience, I don't know, maybe 6 weeks ago. I'll just pick a time here, but maybe 4 to 6 weeks ago. I was going to buy something, went to the site, identified it. Now I've got 2 or 3 different sites I was looking at, similar products, similar price points. And it's like, hey, 10% off, for signing up for the emails. And I was going to buy from that brand, and I signed up for the emails. And it's like, hey, thanks for signing up. Check your inbox for your deal. And then like 5 minutes later, no message. 10 minutes later, no message. And I'm like, you know what? I bought from someone else. And then about an hour later, I get the email and I'm like, too late. You missed your boat. So again, there was an intent on my side there. So I think anything within, less than 10 minutes, but within 5 minutes, I would generally send it. I like to go about a minute there. Cart abandonment, you're right. 2, 3, 4 messages. My timing has come down over the years. It used to be like 1 hour, 24 hours, 48 hours. I'm at 30 minutes now for a cart abandonment message, another one at anywhere from 1 to 2 hours after abandonment. And then I'm 12 hours after, and then my fourth one is going, anywhere from 24 to 48 hours. So again, the person's ready to buy, get in front of them, right? So, make it hard for them to say no. And then product abandonment, you could be a little more, we talked about there's no wrong on an email. Product abandonment, you have a little more wiggle room. I'm still aggressive. I might send you something at 1 to 2 hours afterward, then maybe 24 hours after abandonment. I think you've got some wiggle room there. It really depends on how often you send your other emails, depends on how aggressive you want to be. I tend to be a little more aggressive because I think you should capture every sale possible. Consumers, if the message is relevant, generally don't care that you'll send it to them. So that's kind of where I go with that. But if you're looking for a starting place, be like, okay, let me get some benchmarks here. I'd maybe go 1 to 2 hours after product abandonment, and then maybe 24 hours later, 2 messages, it's probably all you need. And then you could refine your timing based on that. But split test it in the automation, right? It's super easy to do. Any questions? And then you had your second question about what should they put in the emails. So I'm happy to talk about that as well. But you want to talk about timing at all?
Yeah, I think that the timing is really interesting, and maybe it does segue into our next piece. I think the reason for the automation is often a big indicator as to how fast you should send. That sort of product abandonment sequence or the discount that's just really influential for that first-time buyer. Like if your language on the pop-up says 10% off for first-time buyer, first-time subscriber, and the intent of that offering is to get someone to make that purchase. If you use that analogy where if I have to wait an hour, you're really not using a sort of, you're not thinking about that automation as being related to your message, and that disconnect actually is why it may not perform as well. So I'd call that out maybe as a point of learning and a point of focus. If someone's going to drop off this recording and say like, hey, I'm going to go check and see what I'm doing. Look at why people are signing up for some of these automations, what puts them into that flow, and then look at, does the logic of my timing actually match up to that sort of prompting? So kind of that second question was, what is sort of the right thing to build into these automations? I mean, we've touched on a couple of 3 high value ones that you flagged. Thematically, do you see things working better than others? Is it the discounting strategy? Is it something else that seems to actually be helping to move these towards a revenue value instead of maybe just an engagement metric?
Really good question. Just real quick, I would also just advise people sign up for your own emails too. Like you might have done it 2 years ago, but you might have it set to send in 5 minutes. Is it actually sending in 5 minutes? So you should periodically just kind of test yourself. Always good tactic that people forget about. Things that work well in these messages. I think obviously discounts work, but also if you send a discount a week later, the discount's probably not going to work as well, right? So you got a couple things working together here. Feed into the intent. So if you identify the stage of intent or the perceived stage of intent there, I would always tell people, what is the messaging that is going to apply to them? Right now, we're seeing the last couple of years, we're seeing a lot of effectiveness with sense of urgency. These products do tend to sell out. I think now as we're getting to, just even today, just reading stories about like, hey, I think prices are going to be coming up here pretty shortly. We're coming up on Black Friday. They're already warning that restock inventory might be a little bit lower than usual, right? So a sense of urgency can work really well. Social proof, huge, right? So this is just a good thing to put in all your messages, especially welcome messages, product abandonment, but use social proof to convince people, why should I buy from you? Make it hard for them to say no. So, if you want to guide the journey a little bit in a welcome message, check out our top-rated products or top-rated men's gear or something like that. Product abandonment, even cart abandonment, right? Have some product reviews for that particular product or testimonials about the quality of a product. So whatever it is that your brand and or your products in your audience apply to. If it's customer service, which is a differentiator, throw a testimonial in about how great the service was, right? So social proof, sense of urgency, those two things are really working well probably for the last 2 years or so within emails. And I tell people to try to templatize it, right? Try to put some sort of secondary or tertiary banners or product feeds or whatever in there about top-rated customer favorites, things like that. And then if you have any way to populate or just send messages on like back in stock alerts or like top products back in stock, those things work extremely well, especially from an open rate standpoint. So templatize all those value adds, right? Free shipping, free returns. Returns are kind of a big thing now where, people are looking for free returns or hassle-free ones. So promote those across in all your messages. And I think if you reinforce your company value adds, your customer service value adds, use that social proof and certainly use a sense of urgency, I think you're going to be fine there. And then discounts are just kind of layered on top of it, right? You don't have to offer a discount. But as you said, if you promise one, try to deliver on it.
Yeah. One of the things that I've seen our email team do really well, which I think is worth calling out, is finding UGC that matches the message. So a lot of times we talk about UGC, we're thinking just a review, but even within reviews, there's so much that happens and is said. And so if you're sending something about like, if you're offering a discount because you think there's some price sensitivity, having someone whose review speaks to the value of the product received.
Yeah.
Like I was maybe hesitant to buy this because of the cost, but I'm so happy that I did. I've tried 3 others. This is by far the best. The qualities, that sort of value-based UGC, way more valuable than just love the product, 5-star. And being really sensitive to that. I think mixing in the type of UGC is also a really great tip that I would call out. So if you've got a testimonial that's a video, working on like a thumbnail type of graphic that you can have included, just so there's something that looks like a video I can click out to. GIFs, obviously, a blessing for us when we're looking at trying to increase interactivity. And again, just sort of, it's also a good way to sort of extend some of these automations. So you really do make sure you capture everybody who is. First email is discount. I've got the UGC about price and value. Second one is a limited time inventory. We're getting low. Having someone who said like, hey, I did have to back order this. So happy that I did. Third one is, hey, product just sold out. Here's an alternative product we're launching. Having some of that kind of tied together as part of a story and connecting those points seems really to be effective for us when we're working with our Omnisend clients.
Yeah, I don't need to add much to that because you're 100% right. I will say to people, and this is where my conversations in the past where people start to get overwhelmed a little bit and be like, oh man, they're telling us to do all this stuff. And then we get to that paralysis again. I always tell people like this content exists already. Those reviews are on your website, right? It's just a matter, you have the content. It's just a matter of finding the content, just throwing it into like an image, throwing on a GIF, something like that. So most of the stuff is there. You just need to spend 15 minutes to go pull some of it. And that's about it.
Yeah.
So don't be overwhelmed.
Yep. I think one of the fun things our social media team often does is, pull some of this content for our email marketing clients where, again, they're just like, hey, we've got a little bit of a database of great TikTok posts or video content that we've had. We have a what's called a content creator pool, and they'll record sort of UGC style videos that allow us to sort of, again, do lifestyle imagery, box openings, all these different things, which all of a sudden, sure, it's great on social. That's where you expect to see it, but drop that in an email and all of a sudden we've got some magic happening.
Yep.
If we're looking at automation specifically, and we're kind of close to time on our recording today, but what are some of the big features in Omnisend that really have helped brands scale up their automation success? Like, what are some of the things that you guys bring together? I know that others might have some of these, but just in your mind, if you're saying like in the Omnisend toolbox, these are where the magic happens, what would you call out to an Omnisend customer? Say, hey, go look for these. And if someone's with a competitor, maybe like, hey, you probably need to be talking to them about getting this on the product list because it really does wonders.
So I would say the one thing we're looking at is, especially when we talk about like paralysis by analysis or just paralysis in general, is time to do things, right? We're all pressed for time here. So the one thing that Omnisend offers is we templatize everything for you. It's all customizable, but you need segments created. You can use AI and have a conversation to build that segment, but we also have pre-built segments and you can one click have that segment built for you. Same thing with pop-ups, same thing with emails, same thing with automations. So you want a welcome series, you want a cart abandonment, browse abandonment. We have a bunch of them created for you. One message in SMS, three messages in SMS. You click templates there for you. You just need to update the messages in there then. And they're all customizable. So if you want to change things around, obviously split testing within the automation, super simple to do. Just drag it over, split it, and you're good to go. So we try to make the creation process for messages, for automations as simple and time efficient as possible. We do a really good job with that. Customers seem to love it. The other thing is we don't gate your workflow. So you go to a lot of providers and be like, hey, if you're on the free plan, you can't send these automations, right? So we have a free plan. We have paid plans as well. It's all open for you and you can be on free plan for life. It's fine. You can still use our automation. So if you think about, we want to be there to scale as you grow, but we want to be there to help you grow as well. And that's why we do things like that, right? And we have AI built into our, the product is self. So you want to help creating a subject line. We've got an AI generator that can do that for you. Same with marketing copy and your messages, kind of whatever you want to do. We have AI built in to help the efficiency of content creation for you. So these are the beauty things. There's tons in there. Like we always say, we'll give you the flamethrower, but you can use the candle until you're ready to start burning stuff down, right? So, but we're not charging you for the flamethrower, which is the beautiful part.
Yeah, I know our email team does call that out. As an agency, we're really paid for our expertise applied over time. That's sort of the value we bring. And so when we have a tool that allows us to apply that expertise that much faster with some of the automations and templates that Omnisend has, it really does make us that much more valuable, which is why we're partners in the first place. Greg, I do really appreciate your time today. I'm excited to have you back. I'd love to talk through maybe some technical things around email and SMS, maybe some legal things as well. We're seeing a lot of new laws about privacy and spam compliance, and I think there'd probably be a good conversation for some of our listeners there as well. But I do appreciate just this paralysis analysis conversation today. Hopefully people feel like their arms are moving a little bit better as we get ready to wrap up today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jordan. Can I do a closing comment here for advice for people? There's a lot out there. There's content you can read. You can listen to YouTube videos of me telling you how to do stuff. I would tell people, start simple, start small, one message at a time, get it sending. You can always add another one later, and the message does not have to be perfect. It does not have to be the 10 out of 10 perfect images. Start sending it as long as it's relevant. People don't care. And as you start making progress there, that's all you need. So don't be overwhelmed by it. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just start doing it one at a time. And literally in no time, you'll be rocking and rolling and firing away. So don't sweat.
Awesome. Thank you, Greg. Appreciate the time and appreciate the partnership with Omnisend. So we'll be back next week with some additional cyber salve pain points and some cures for them. But this one, hopefully, you'll find a lot of value in. I think just looking at doing something that's going to drive some revenue tomorrow, this conversation is going to help you do that. Thanks, Greg. Thanks, Omnisend. And thank you all for listening and tuning in.